I'm going to start with a poem this morning, which is called What You Missed That Day You Were Absent from Fourth Grade, by Brad Aaron Maudlin. Mrs. Nelson explained how to stand still and listen to the wind, how to find meaning when pumping gas, how peeling potatoes can be a form of prayer. She took questions on how not to feel lost in the dark. After lunch, she distributed the worksheets that covered ways to remember your grandfather's voice. Then the class discussed falling asleep without feeling that you had forgotten to do something else, something important, and how to believe the house you wake up in is your home. This prompted Mrs. Nelson to draw a chalkboard diagram detailing how to chant the Psalms during cigarette breaks, and how not to squirm for sound when your own thoughts are all you hear. Also, that you have enough. The English lesson was that I am, and that's a complete sentence. And just before the afternoon bell, she made the math equation look easy, the one that proves 100 of questions and feeling cold, and all those nights spent looking for whatever it was you lost, and that one person add up to something. So ends the reading. I love that poem. It talks about all the important things in life. And frankly, I'm intrigued by a school that would teach you those things or think they were important. Those things that we never seem to really discuss. So how does this relate to this time of year? Well, it's taken me a long time to appreciate late fall and winter. Winter in Chicago, where I grew up, always meant being cold and having to stay indoors. And I liked running around outside and playing on my bike and building forts, and couldn't do that in the winter. Well, my father made me an igloo one winter, but it was too cold, so forget it. When I was a child, I couldn't wait for Santa to visit, and I was always so entranced by the tree and the lights. At about 4 o'clock every afternoon, my mother would turn on the Christmas tree, leave all the other lights off, and when I was little, I would pull my rocking chair, my little one, right up next to the tree and just watch it for a long time until dinner. It just seemed magical to me. I didn't see all the preparation for Christmas until I got older and started my own traditions as an adult. Then I was just, swept up in it all like we all are. When I joined the staff of churches, I learned that if I didn't have everything done for Christmas by Thanksgiving, it wasn't going to get done. My former admin assistant at Berkeley used to tell me every Labor Day, well, we've just entered into that great 40-yard dash to Christmas. And you can feel the energy ramp up all through the fall till you hit Christmas Day. This is why many churches in our denomination give the staff the week off between Christmas and New Year's. Their recovery is important. I know you feel it too. Many of you get immersed in the baking and the cooking and the buying and the wrapping and the card writing and the parties and all that time with family and friends, which is so wonderful. But it's easy to forget what the season is all about, and what it was for many years before we attached such ceremony and obligation to it. Long before the church attached this time of year to waiting for the return of Jesus, those that lived close to the earth were waiting for the return of the sun. That's S-U-N, not S-O-N. In northern climes, it was a period of introspection for repairing equipment, clothing, household furnishings, and rebuilding, for storytelling, for huddling with your family and your tribe. The Christian church built their Christmas holiday on top of the earth-centered vigil, and the period of 40 days before that was the preparation for the return of the SON. Advent was a time for turning within, to repair yourself. Well, even if we don't believe in the Christian church's teachings, there is some wisdom there. At a time when the wheel of the earth seems to spin a little slower, what can we do to turn inside, to center ourselves? How can we stay open to the magic of the everyday? And how would the holiday change if we did so? When you have small children, you want them to have a wonderful Christmas. Even if you didn't go all out before for yourself, now that you have a family, it kind of sets you into high gear to provide a special Christmas for them. Then that becomes tradition, and you feel compelled to recreate that every year. But what is lost? And what can we regain? It all starts with attention. Deciding every day to pause and notice what's around us, who is there, and what's happening. What magic is there in the moment? At one point, when I was working for our church in Pasadena as a wedding coordinator, I would tell the bridal couple to stop several times during their day just to notice. Who's there? What's happening? What people that didn't know each other before are now talking to each other and laughing? What's happening? I did that when Bob and I got married, and because of that, I have many vivid memories of that day, things that might have just passed in a blur. You know, that day is so busy. We could do that when we gather with our families, when we sit with our partners, when we gather in a small group at church, or even when we're sitting by ourselves to notice what nature is in front of us. But we need to slow down first. It takes time. I started to take the time to do this intentionally and ordered a book, In Praise of Slowness by Carl Honoré. Much to my annoyance, it took 6 weeks to arrive, and it took me a year to read it. The irony is not lost on me. But it was an interesting look at how our culture channels productivity and busyness into everything, even sitting with a cup of coffee. I heard someone once say, you know, in Europe, they use this cup of coffee to gather and to share. We use it for fuel. Sitting quietly and staying in the moment has not been acceptable since the Pilgrims landed. There are some good articles about how to shift into the moment. In Living the Moment, 10 Paths to Presence by Celisa, some of these she suggests are play, going with the flow without judgment, perspective, shifting yourself to notice the nature around you, pause, do nothing. That's the hardest one. Build pockets of that into your day. Pleasure, relentlessly pursue joy. Empathy, sympathy. Whenever you have a chance for real connection, take it. Ponder, wonder, contemplate. All these can help you center into the presence of now. Now, saying all this, I know that there are some of you that live with yourselves for too much of your day, every day. According to the Surgeon General, there is an epidemic of loneliness in this country. When you're lonely, it can be difficult to find the joy and the magic of life. Loneliness can color everything that touches your life, and it can be difficult to reach out and ask for help when there is no one around you or that you're afraid you won't be seen. There are a lot of people who are invisible in this country. It can be difficult to walk into a friendly, welcoming place like this church, especially if you have trouble making contact. I belonged to a theater company at one time, and One of the wives of an actor I'd worked with used to attend the monthly meetings with him. She seemed so at ease that I was surprised when she told me that it took her all day to work up to being there in that room of high energy extroverts. I was so surprised. I never would have guessed that. If you knew her, you wouldn't have seen that unless she told you. This community is so important. We welcome people into our circles every week, but we should look for those that stand on the outside, on the edges of every circle, not knowing how to get in. And make sure that they know that they're welcomed here. And if you're having trouble getting into a group here, please see Jen Gill. She will make sure she finds a place for you, maybe more than one place. And as I close, I just want to say that I wish you all a lovely holiday, filled with time for all the important things, but especially your presence.